On News 3 New Mexico, migrant bosses arrive in Washington, D.C. from Texas due to border crisis.
More wind or less wind for Easter Sunday? Find out in my full weather forecast.
And Elon Musk says he wants to take over Twitter for the sake of democracy and free speech. All that and more on News 3 New Mexico, starting right now.
This is News 3 New Mexico, your local source for news, sports, and first weather.
Good evening and welcome to News 3 New Mexico. I am Olayinka Sodunke.
And I'm Payton Garcia. Taking a look at the community, a job fair from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday will recruit assistants for the City of Clovis Summer Youth Program and lifeguards for the Clovis Aquatic Center. The job fair will be held at Clovis Aquatic Center at 1700 East 7th Street in Clovis. The Recreation Administration for the city said the Summer Youth Program plans to hire 10 program assistants to guide children ages 5 to 11 in education and recreational activities from June 6th to July 29th. And in other news, Eastern New Mexico University is looking for direct involvement of the Portales/Roosevelt County governments in the selection of ENMU's new president. In a letter to Roosevelt County Commission Chair Shane Lee, Portales Mayor Ron Jackson, Roosevelt County Manager Amber Hamilton, and Portales City Manager Sarah Austin are invited to have the County Commission and City Commission to suggest someone to be on the search committee. The ENMU Board of Regents will then choose one of those two people to be on that committee. The search committee does not decide who the new president of the university will be, but that is a decision made by the Board of Regents. This comes after the current head of the school, Chancellor Patrice Caldwell, announced in February that she would be retiring in July after a 42-year career at the school.
Staying in the state, New Mexico regulators have approved more rules to crack down on pollution from the state's big oil and gas industry. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham administration on Thursday supported the rules and called them among the nation's toughest. The rules comes amid a debate over domestic U.S. production and growing concerns about global energy market instability. Lujan Grisham is a Democrat running for re-election and has pushed for more regulations during her first term. She says the latest rules represent a big step towards our goal of lowering emissions and improving air quality. To show the impact of oil and gas in 2021, oil and gas provided $5.3 billion in state and local tax revenue. Now, firefighters battling a raging New Mexico wildfire that killed 2 people and destroyed more than 200 homes in mountainous communities are bracing for winds that could make things worse. The fire has caused the evacuation of about 5,000 people in the community of Ruidoso, where the remains of a couple were found near a burned home early this week. The Mockbird fire, which ignited on April the 12th, was sparked by a down power line and torched 9.4 square miles as of this morning. Thousands of electrical customers lost power and Ruidoso schools are closed until next week. Now, Payton, what's going on with the weather?
It's been really windy, man.
Yep, it's going to be really windy and it's going to be
Please tell me
really
that's going
dry.
to change.
I wish it would, Aiden, but that's just this time of year in Portales. Let's check out my first weather forecast. So, things are going to feel pretty nice for your Easter weekend, pretty much across the board. We got a 70 in Farmington, 71 in Gallup, 76 in Albuquerque. Life's pretty good. Life's pretty warm across the map. We got a 70 in Ruidoso, 82 in Socorro, and we got 78 in Santa Rosa. Let's go ahead and check out that pollen report. Let me get out your way real quick. Allergens in the area. So grass levels, pollen-wise, are going to be low. Tree pollen levels are going to be low, and weed pollen levels are going to be pretty medium. So hopefully your allergies won't be bothering you too much this weekend. Let's get a look at those wind speeds. I know that's on everybody's mind here lately. Western part of the state going to be faced with a lot of wind, as long as the north central part of the state as well. That's today at 5 right now, and Friday. That's today. Let's go ahead and speed it up a little bit. And Saturday it cooled down, or not cooled down, but calmed down just a little bit. But the western part of the state is still going to be hit with quite a bit of wind. Let's move to the eastern part of the state. Not so bad. Usually not what we're used to on this side of the world. So one more time. And Sunday, I spoke too soon. So the eastern part of the state is going to be covered with a lot of wind at around 30, almost 40 miles an hour, especially in this area right here. And western part, things are looking good. I'll toss it back to Aiden and Olayinka at the desk.
Thank you. The New Mexico Supreme Court has a new Chief Justice who will oversee the administration of the judiciary. Shannon Bacon will act as an advocate for state courts at the legislature on budgetary and other matters. Bacon was sworn in Wednesday to a 2-year term as Chief Justice, which involves coordination with the state bar that sets professional standards for attorneys. Bacon was appointed by Democratic Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham in 2019 and won statewide election in 2020. She previously served 9 years as state district judge in the Albuquerque-based 2nd Judicial District.
A New Mexico lawmaker is urging K-12 school leaders to reject new social studies standards, which were approved by the state education department. Republican House Whip Rod Montayo argues that the new standards are racially divisive. It says local school officials are morally obligated to reject the education standards. School districts choose which books to buy and how lessons are crafted. It's also rare that school districts defy the state. When a school board did so last year by rejecting Mac's mandate, the education department dismissed all members. Well, that is all the news we have for you right now. Be sure to come back after the break for Payton's full weather.
But first, here's a look at today's financial market.
Welcome back. So let's get a look at those current temperatures one more time. We've got 76 in Albuquerque, 71 in Gallup over here, probably the coolest part of the state, except for Farmington and Santa Fe here at 71. 79 in Clayton, usually not that warm up north, but you know, things are different this time of year. We've got 78 in Santa Rosa, 83 in Tucumcari, Clovis, and Portales all at the same time. Like I said, Roswell's always different at 91. Ruidoso here at 70 degrees, and Hobbs down at 90. Let's go ahead and check that future satellite and radar for you guys. Looks like there's going to be some cloud cover here in the south and a little bit of light rain. So Las Cruces area, that Silver City area, things are going to be, you know, pretty stormy for the remainder of your Saturday. For Sunday, looks like it wants to move this way, but besides that, not looking like there's a whole lot of action here on the map. Here in eastern New Mexico, in Roosevelt County, Curry County, not a whole lot of action going on. Maybe some cloud cover, some overcast days for you. But besides that, not a whole lot going on, it seems. Let's check tonight's lows. 31 in Gallup. I think that is the only below freezing temperature here on the map. We've got a 41 in Farmington up north, 41 in Santa Fe, 37 in Raton. Let's look at our little slice of heaven down here. We've got 51 in Santa Rosa, 54 in Roswell, 50 in Portales, 48 in Clovis, and Tucumcari as well. And tomorrow's highs. Let's go ahead and look there one more time. We've got a nice crisp 72 for your Saturday there in Gallup. We got a 75 in Farmington. Move over to eastern New Mexico real quick. Got a 78 in Santa Rosa, 86 in Roswell tomorrow. Like I said, always different. 83 in Hobbs all the way down here. And 75 here in Portales, 5 degrees warmer than Clovis at 70. Let's get a look at your 7-day forecast. In Carlsbad, we're looking at 87 degrees tomorrow and mostly cloudy for you guys. We got a 54 Saturday night, but Easter Sunday looks like it's going to be nice and warm at 90 degrees. And the coldest night it looks here is Sunday night. Go ahead.
Well, it seems pretty interesting what the weather's going to be looking like this weekend.
Well, I'm really hoping it doesn't get any more windy. I'm driving down to Albuquerque, and you know, when you're trying to drive down there and the wind's pushing your car with those semis, that's when it gets really dangerous.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I always get that feeling every time once I'm driving down. I'm like, this wind is just too much.
It's way too much.
Yeah, it's getting
with all those little tumbleweeds hitting at your car door trying to get in.
Yes, that's just coming around here. But then stay with us here on the news. We'll be back after this break.
Hello, welcome back. Now on to some more national news. A third migrant bus arrived in Washington, D.C. around 8 this morning as part of the Texas Governor Greg Abbott's efforts to counter federal immigrant policies amid the current border crisis. The state of Texas began sending buses to Washington, D.C. on April 8th following Abbott's statement that Texas Division of Emergency Management officials would be transporting migrants released in his states. Communities to the national capital. The White House initially described it as a publicity stunt, with many assuming the governor would not follow through. The Friday bus carried approximately 30 migrants. The first bus arrived on April 13th. And in other news, Twitter shareholders have much to think about right now, and so does the company's board. Elon Musk says he wants to take over the company for the sake of democracy and free speech. Elon is known as the man in charge of Tesla and SpaceX, and now he owns about 9% of Twitter. He's now offering to buy the rest of the company's shares at a double-digit premium. When Musk announced his stake in Twitter, the share price went up. There's now hints he will sell those shares if he doesn't get what he asks for. He could also buy all the shares if investors were still willing to sell. Musk says his attempt isn't about money, but about free speech due to censorship on the social media platform. Some say the real threat to democracy would be privatizing a social media giant.
Now, a strong winter storm has a North Dakota rancher working fast to save his livestock. Trevor Stig and his family are putting in 40 hours a day searching for claves and trying to keep them alive after roughly 2 feet of snow fell on his farm. The blizzard struck during what's known as calving season. Stig says hundreds of baby cows are typically born in April and sold in the fall. Unfortunately, Stig says he already lost some of his herds after finding some stalked in snow. Going to New York right now, Frank James, the man accused of opening fire on a subway train in Brooklyn, visited multiple Manhattan neighborhoods as the NYPD searched the city for him, according to police. The 62-year-old was arrested in Manhattan's East Village neighborhood on Wednesday afternoon, more than 24 hours after 10 people were shot on a crowded subway. 29 people were wounded overall amidst the chaos. After the mass shooting Tuesday morning, James switched subway trains and got off the train at the 25th Street station. James made it into Manhattan and sometime Tuesday night checked into Chelsea International Hostel. He emerged sometime Wednesday morning and began wandering the street of Lower Manhattan, hiding in plain sight. Multiple sightings began at around 10:30 a.m. when he was spotted sitting outside a restaurant in Chinatown. Witnesses took pictures of him sitting and posted on social media, tagging the police. A few hours later, James was spotted getting lunch on the Lower East Side. Just after 1 in the afternoon on Wednesday, James called Crime Stoppers on himself, sharing his exact location. By the time police arrived, James had left, but a Good Samaritan spotted James nearby and flagged down the police.
Americans are holding some views like those seen only during recessions. According to an economic survey amid inflation, 47% of the public say the economy is poor, the highest number in that category since 2012. Only 17% rank the economy as excellent or good, which is the lowest since 2014. Only 1 in 5 Americans describe their personal financial situation as getting ahead, the weakest showing in 8 years. Most say they are remaining in place, and 1 in 10 say they are falling behind. And 56% say they expect a recession in the next year.
Now, talking about Easter, candy and chocolate may be some of the items family fill their Easter baskets with this year. But the question is, how do you keep your children's blood pressure in check as they consume the holiday treats? In today's Health Minute, Manigator has more on what an expert recommends for an area Easter.
Happy Easter!
For those who celebrate the holiday, it's that time of year again. Baskets filled to the brim, loads of candy being consumed.
The candy is going to be just a sugar rush. It's going to spike the blood sugar and then drop them later in the day.
While you don't want your child to overindulge and get sick, Cleveland Clinic pediatric dietitian Jennifer Hyland says you also shouldn't place significant limits on their intake.
You can't give them this giant basket of candy and then expect them not to partake at all. So my suggestion instead would be to try to balance it out with meals throughout the day.
That starts with a healthy breakfast. Hyland says eating protein and fiber in the morning can help fill kids up and balance out their blood sugar. Egg hunts and other holiday activities can get them moving. Healthy Easter-themed snacks are also key.
There are so many things that you can make fun for the kids, like shapes of Easter bunny ears. You can use celery, carrots, bananas, apples.
And keep those healthy habits going through the end of the day.
I really caution parents from having the good food, bad food conversation. I don't want it to be we had candy all day, so now we can only eat salad for dinner. Still have your regular meals, but just try to load it up a little bit more on the vegetables.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
I think we should definitely take some cue from that. Well, that is all the news we have for you right now.
But be sure to come back after the break for sports with Qitana Sapiga.
Welcome back to News 3 New Mexico. I'm your sports host, Qitana Sapiga, and let's see what's going on in the sports world, starting with Eastern New Mexico. Greyhound baseball took a loss yesterday in their series opener against Angelo State. In just the top of the first inning, Angelo State came out swinging with 7 runs. Then by the third inning, they were up 9-1. Eastern's Camden Matthews hit a single to right field. Then Cooper Hamilton brought him home after a triple to right center. The number 12 ranked Rams continued to rack up their points with 5 runs in the 4th inning and 7 runs in the 5th inning. During this time, the Greyhounds collected 2 more runs, making the score 21-3 by the 5th inning. Angelo went on to score 4 more insurance runs, and Eastern grabbed 1 more run, leaving the final score at 25-4. Head coach Riley Price of Greyhound baseball said, "Well, those are never games you want to be a part of, but it happens. Tomorrow's a new day, and we need to respond like I know we can." Indeed, it is a new day, and the Hounds will play a doubleheader today. Their first game was at 2 p.m., and they lost 18-5. Their second game for the doubleheader will start at 5:30, which is just right after the show. The Hounds will close out this series tomorrow, and the first pitch will be at 1 p.m. Baseball fans around the world have been rejoicing since opening day last week. My home team, the Los Angeles Dodgers, have had one busy week. On Wednesday, the Dodgers played the Minnesota Twins, and pitcher Clayton Kershaw had one heck of a game. He went perfect through 7 innings until team manager Dave Roberts pulled him. Kershaw threw 80 pitches and racked up 13 strikeouts against the Twins. In the history of the MLB, there has been over 220,000 games and only 23 perfect games. Had the Dodgers decided to keep Kershaw in the last few innings, Kershaw could have attempted to pitch a perfect game. This decision by Roberts to pull Kershaw was very controversial. Fans were disappointed and would have liked to see Kershaw go for a perfect game. However, Kershaw and Roberts shared the reasoning behind pulling him, and they both agreed it was a smart move considering this is the beginning of the season and they want more out of this year than a perfect game. Yesterday was another day of greatness for the Dodgers. They played their first home game at Dodger Stadium, and new team member Freddie Freeman, who got traded to the Dodgers from the Braves, received a warm welcome from the Los Angeles community after hitting a grounder double in the 8th inning. Let's take a look.
Freeman hits one to left center field, slicing into the gap. He'll split him. A leadoff double for Freddie Freeman. Powerful stuff. This is during the break. Freddie Freeman spent 12 seasons in Atlanta. He said, to be honest with you, I never thought I'd be anywhere else. His world was rocked when the Braves didn't come up with a way to bring him back. Decided to come to L.A. and Dodger Stadium making him feel at home to the point of emotion after his first extra base hit as a Dodger. Just a powerful, powerful moment as they chant his name in his first game in this stadium, wearing their colors.
What an awesome start to the season. There is no doubt this year will be just as competitive as the last. NBA postseason playoffs begin tomorrow, but in the meantime, tonight are the last 2 games of the play-in tournament, which will determine which teams advance to the playoffs. So far, the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Brooklyn Nets have stamped their way to the first round after beating out the Clippers and the Cavs, but it's still not over for Los Angeles and Cleveland, as tonight they take on the Pelicans and the Hawks to fight for the last 2 spots in tomorrow's opening round. So let's look at each matchup. The Atlanta Hawks, currently 43-39, finished 9th in the Eastern Conference, and they hope to beat out Cleveland, who's currently 44-38, who finished 8th in their conference. Their matchup is tonight at 5:30 p.m. Then the Los Angeles Clippers, currently 42-40, finished 8th in the Western Conference, and they will play the New Orleans Pelicans, currently 36-46, as they finished 9th in the Western Conference. Their game begins tonight at 8 p.m. As for the teams that automatically made the first round of playoffs, the matchups for Game 1 tomorrow are Utah Jazz versus Dallas Mavericks, Minnesota Timberwolves versus Memphis Grizzlies, Toronto Raptors versus Philadelphia 76ers, Denver Nuggets versus Golden State Warriors, Brooklyn Nets versus Boston Celtics, and the Chicago Bulls versus Milwaukee Bucks. Then the winner between the Hawks and Cavs will go on to play Miami Heat, and the winner between the Pelicans and Clippers will play the Phoenix Suns. Tune in tonight to see who will advance from the play-in tournament and go to the first round of playoffs tomorrow. That is all the sports updates I have for you tonight, but stay tuned and we'll be back after this break.
You're welcome back. Right now, what's going on with the weather? It seems pretty cold and all of that. So it seems there's really not much going on with the weather then. But I think it should be a fun weekend though, with the Easter and all of that.
With Easter, if it's not too windy on this Sunday, I think everything will be just fine.
You know, I don't think it'll be too bad. I think it's going to be maybe a little breezy, but pretty nice, pretty warm.
And since you're going out to Albuquerque, probably you should have your windows up this time because you'll be complaining about that.
No, all the way down.
All the way down.
I want tumbleweeds to enter my car at this point. I'm inviting them in.
Okay, that's all right. Then don't complain then next week. Don't complain.
I'm always going to complain.
Okay then. Well, that's all the news we have for you tonight.
Thank you, and have a good evening.